Good afternoon from Seattle. We've had our cleansing rain that lasted 20 minutes this morning, and it's now, I think we're in the 70s. It's a cloudy day all day, which is actually perfect working weather, which I'm going to be doing a little bit later. Picking up, and welcome to Jesus Old and New. Today we're going to continue one of the Old Testament themes that we alluded to earlier. It begins with Melchizedek. It actually begins in Sumar. The king is described as the shepherd of his people. Melchizedek certainly is a perfect shepherd of his people. David is the archetype in the Old Testament, really for all kings, in part because he was a shepherd. His heart was formed as a shepherd. He was a man after God's own heart because he was a shepherd. And though a violent man, his heart remained open to and tender to God, and certainly to Israel, and in its nurturing care of Israel. God is the ultimate shepherd of Israel, and the priests, of course, were to be shepherds, the ones originally intended by God, and failed just as priests do today, just as I do. In Ezekiel 34, we hear this judgment against the priests. The word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, prophesy against the shepherds of Israel. Prophesy and say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says, woe to the shepherds of Israel, who only take care of themselves. Should not shepherds take care of the flock? You eat the curds, clothe yourself with the wool, and slaughter the choice animals, but you do not care for the flock. You have not strengthened the weak, or healed the sick, or bound up the injured. You have not brought back the strays, or searched for the lost. You have ruled them harshly and brutally. So they were scattered because there was no shepherd, and when they were scattered, they became food for all my wild animals. My sheep wandered all over the mountains and on every high hill. They were scattered over the whole earth, and no one searched or looked for them. Therefore, you shepherds, hear the word of the Lord. As surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, because my flock lacks a shepherd, and so has been plundered and has become food for all the wild animals. And because my shepherds do not search for my flock, but care for themselves rather than for my flock, therefore, O shepherds, hear the word of the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I am against the shepherds, and I will hold them accountable for the flock, so the shepherds can no longer feed themselves. I will rescue my flock from their mouths, and it will no longer be food for them. For this is what the sovereign Lord says. I myself will search for my sheep and look after them. As a shepherd looks after his scattered flock when he is with them, so will I look after my sheep. I will rescue them from all the places they were scattered on a day of clouds and darkness. I will bring them out from the nations and gather them from the countries, and I will bring them into their own land. I will pasture them on the mountains of Israel, in my ravines, and all the settlements in the land. I will tend them in a good pasture, and on the mountain heights of Israel will be their grazing land. There they will lie down in good grazing land, and there they will be fed in a rich pasture on the mountains of Israel. I myself will tend my sheep and have them lie down, declares the sovereign Lord. I will search for the lost and bring back the strays. I will bind up the injured and strengthen the weak, but the sleek and strong I will destroy. I will shepherd the flock with justice. Then, that's just up through verse 16. We'll stop there in terms of the Old Testament reading. But we would do an injustice if we did not finish with Jesus' statement, and certainly the New Testament statement who Jesus is. John makes the statement when he remembers Jesus saying these words in John chapter 10. I tell you the truth. The man who does not enter the sheep pen by the gate, but climbs in some other way, is a thief and a robber. The man who enters by the gate is the shepherd of his sheep. The watchman opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes on ahead of them, and his sheep follow him because they know his voice. But they will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice. Jesus used this figure of speech, but they did not understand what he was telling them. Therefore Jesus said again, I tell you the truth, I am the gate for the sheep. All who ever came before me were thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the gate, and whoever enters through me will be saved. He will come in and go out and find shepherd. The thief only comes to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for his sheep. The hired hand is not a shepherd who owns the sheep. So when he sees a wolf coming, he abandons the sheep and runs away. When the wolf attacks the flock and scatters it, the man runs away because he's a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me. Just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that are not of this sheep pen. I must bring them also. They too will listen to my voice, and there shall be one flock and one shepherd. The reason my Father loves me is that I lay down my life only to take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have authority to lay it down and authority to take it up again. This command I received from my Father. The word of our God in the Old Testament, who is for us. The word of our God in the Gospels, who is with us, in Jesus of Nazareth. Indeed, the Good Shepherd. I have been at times a good shepherd, at times woefully inadequate, sinfully inadequate. So this speaks a word of condemnation, of comfort, but the real power of the text remains. Regardless how good or bad a given shepherd is in a given space, God is the ultimate shepherd. Shepherd is often seen in most cultures as the least powerful, the most insignificant, the lowest stratum. God says, I am the shepherd, and my purpose is to lay down my life for my sheep, whom I value and know. The only important question to you and I is, do we know the shepherd? Do we listen for his voice? Do we follow? May the good shepherd this day bless and keep you.